And we're back to it, my friends. So we're going to continue our conversation about order of operations. All right, you went through the last lesson. We talked really about mainly simple problems, maybe two-step, maybe a three-step problem. And so what we're going to focus on today, all right, are same types of problems, but they're just going to be a little bit more complicated, a few more steps, a few more operations. So once again, we're still doing order of operations. Excuse me. Those don't change. So we're going to look for our grouping symbols first, then our exponents. And then once again, multiplication, division, or equivalent operations. So we're going to work those as we see them left to right. And then same thing with addition or subtraction. All right. Same kind of tips. All right. So we're going to just do one step at a time. We're going to bring everything down vertically, and we're going to change those double signs. All right. So let's just jump right into some examples and get to work here. All right. So when I look at our first problem here, and once again, sometimes it helps just to kind of preview the problem before you start writing and see what operations you have. So as I look through this, I see an exponent, I see addition, and I see division. All right, so sometimes, especially when you get to the more complicated problems or complex problems, you want to just kind of preview that, look at the whole problem. Don't just start working left to right, because sometimes that's where you get into some mistakes and run into some hills that might be a little harder to climb. So I have exponents, addition, division, and then what I know is that I need to take care of this exponent first. Now, once again, negative 5 squared, all right, is negative 5 times negative 5. So a negative times negative is a positive. 5 times 5 is 25. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of the problem just as so. Now what I have is just addition right here and then division. So I've got to take care of that division first. So I'm going to bring down the 25. I'm going to bring down the addition. And now what I'm going to do is put this result in parentheses. So I have 28 divided by negative 7, which is negative 4. All right, so now as an example of, let's take care of this double sign. All right, so a positive negative is really just a negative, so this is really 25 minus 4, and then 25 minus 4 is 21. Now, this step here, I think it's convenient. I think it really helps a lot of people see the problems, but some of you may be able to go from this step to this step, and that's just fine. All right, but I'm always going to include this to make sure we're all on the same page. All right, so let's look at our next problem here. All right, once again, we see that we have grouping symbols. All right, we see we have multiple operations in the grouping symbol. So what you have to understand is once I go inside of a grouping symbol, and let's compare this to the first problem. So technically I had parentheses here, but I had one number. There were not operations in there, so there was nothing to simplify. Versus now when I jump inside of this grouping symbol, all right, I need to follow the operations within that. So it's almost like a separate entire problem within a grouping symbol. And once again, if we preview this, I have addition and an exponent. I have to take care of the exponent first. So I'm going to have negative 1. I'm going to bring the addition down, and I'm going to take care of 4 squared. And once again, remember 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. And then I'm going to bring this dude down right here, so negative 2. Now, once again, I can go ahead and finish the operation within my grouping symbol and within the parentheses. I have just addition, so I can do negative 1 plus 16, which is 15. And once again, I'm just bringing this all down nice and neat. And once again, remember, it's implied multiplication when we have two things right next to each other, like so. A positive times a negative is a negative, and then 15 times 2 is 30. Now, once again, you could have distributed here and distributed here. And notice I would have had negative 2 times negative 1, which is 2. And then negative 2 times 16, which is negative 32. And then if I'd combined those, I would have gotten to negative 30. So that distributive property is still there if you need it, and it's kind of useful from time to time. And it's a great way to check your work because they should be the same answer. All right, so let's take another look at a couple more examples. All right, so as I work through this guy, okay, I'm going to my grouping symbol here. All right, so I've got to simplify within here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down all this extra stuff here. And I'm going to go ahead and change this sign. A negative negative is a positive, so I'm going to have that guy. And notice just keeping everything nice and clean, not trying to do too much at once. So now what I see is I really only have one operation in my parenthesis here. So I can go ahead and add these two numbers. So I have negative 9 minus, and then I have negative 8 plus 4, which is negative 4, and then a positive 4. Now once again, I see this double sign here. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. So this is negative 9 and then plus 4 plus 4. Now, all I have is addition. I can just work left to right. Negative 9 plus 4 is negative 5. Bring down that second plus 4, and then I get to negative 1. Now, once again, some of you might go right from here to here. I'm okay with that, but I want to show everything in between so everybody can follow along nice and neat. All right, moving on to this example. Once again, I see I have a big grouping symbol here. In this case, however, I only have the one operation, all right, which is division. All right, I have this negative right here, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that in my problem. So that's a negative, and then 28 divided by 4 is 7. So I have negative 7 plus 10 minus 1. Now, once again, all I have is addition and subtraction. So I can just work left to right. So negative 7 plus 10 would be 3. Bring down the minus 1, and 3 minus 1 is 2. All right, so just keep on rolling. Now, once again, let's look at this kind of rational fraction problem here and talk about what's happening. All right, so notice we eventually want to do division. All right, but to do division, I have to get to one number in the numerator and I have to get to one number in the denominator. All right, so what I'm going to look at and follow is my order of operations in the numerator, and I'm going to look at and follow the order of operations in the denominator. So now I see my grouping symbol here, so I need to take care of the operation inside of my grouping symbol, which is subtraction. So if I do negative 11 minus 10, that would be negative 21, and then I have times 3. All right, and then if I want, I can kind of just do one operation at a time within each thing, or I can simplify the numerator and then go through and simplify the denominator. So if I look at the denominator in this case, I only have one operation, which is multiplication. So I can just go ahead and do 3 times 3, which is 9. I can go ahead and do my numerator now, down to one operation. So negative 21 times 3 would be negative 63, and I still have that divided by 9. And then a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then 63 divided by 9 is 7. So once again, we kind of talked about that technically we want division falls after or before some things, but it's a greater kind of problem, so we have to kind of work through order of operations in here as a separate problem, order of operations in the denominator as a separate problem, and then that gets us to a problem that we can do pretty quick. All right, so now what I'd like to do is give you some problems to work on. So here are two problems. All right, so once again, go ahead and pause the video, work through these, and we'll see how you do. All right, so let me flip to the next slide. All right, so what I've done is try to lay everything out kind of in with all the steps so you can kind of see how everything progressed. So once again, we got to take care of everything in this parenthesis. So 10 minus 6 is 4. Now I can do the division. So I get negative 2, and then 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Now notice I have two sets of grouping symbols here. So in the first set, we have multiplication. So I do 2 times negative 5, and that's negative 10. All right. Now I can take care of this guy, so I can get to 10 here. Now, some of you may have gone from this first step to the third step, and that's perfectly okay. All right. And then I do my multiplication, I get negative 100. All right, let's finish the day with two more problems. All right, so go ahead and try these two. All right, pause the video, and then we'll see how you did. Okay, let's wrap this up. All right, so now once again, you can see that I went ahead and changed this double sign. All right, once again, some of you may have gone right from here to here, and that's fine. And once again, once we get to this step, all right, we got to take care of the exponent before subtraction. So 6 squared is 36. And once again, I changed that double sign to a positive, and that gives us 39 for our answer. Now, once again, some of you may have gone right from this step to this step. That's perfectly fine. Okay, once again, we're dealing with this kind of rational expression here, fraction. All right, so once again, you got to simplify the numerator first, and you just, once again, go left to right, equivalent operations. 22 plus 3 is 25. 25 minus 5 is 20, and then you can get to your division problem here, and that is negative 10. All right, so that wraps up this lesson on order of operations. Work through your self-assessment, the homework, and come see me if you have questions.